Nobody talks about this, but a tiny Southeast Asian country is breaking the global semiconductor industry wide open, and the giants never saw it coming. For decades, chips were made in Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan. The US, TSMC, Samsung, they ran the show. But a global supply chain crisis changed everything, and Vietnam stepped in quietly. To understand this shift, we have to look back. Vietnam was one of the world's poorest countries just 30 years ago. In 1990, its GDP per capita was under $100. Then, Doi Moi reforms opened the economy. It became a manufacturing hub for textiles and footwear. But leadership had bigger ambitions. Semiconductors and electronics were always the end game. They weren't just looking for low-cost labor. They were building a foundation for the most complex technology on Earth. And the strategy worked. This wasn't an overnight success. It was a calculated, decades-long transformation that is only now hitting its peak. Samsung invested over $20 billion into Vietnam. That's not a subsidiary. That's a full-on manufacturing empire. Today, nearly 50% of all Samsung smartphones are built right here. Vietnam became Samsung's single biggest global production base. Then Intel arrived, then LG, then Foxconn. The big names started moving in, and they weren't just building plants. Then Amkor, the world's second largest chip packaging company, announced a $1.6 billion plant in Vietnam. The entire electronic supply chain started migrating south. Then the US-China trade war hit. Suddenly, every major tech company needed to get out of China. Vietnam became the escape route. FDI into Vietnam's tech sector exploded. The country attracted more chip-related investment than almost any other nation on Earth. Vietnam walks a careful geopolitical tightrope, maintaining strong trade ties with both the US and China. They are the neutral ground everyone needs. When Washington launched the CHIPS Act to de-risk semiconductor supply chains, Vietnam was explicitly mentioned in briefings as a key alternative manufacturing hub. The US-Vietnam Comprehensive Strategic Partnership signed in 2023 was directly tied to semiconductor and tech cooperation. It's a game-changer for the region. Why Vietnam? Young population, median age just 30, competitive labor costs, a government that fast-tracks permits for chip manufacturers, and a workforce that's rapidly skilling up in engineering and electronics. They are ready for the challenge. Vietnam isn't just assembling phones. It's climbing the value chain. Chip packaging and testing, one of the most critical steps, is now booming here. This isn't cheap labor work. This is advanced tech. They are moving from the bottom of the chain straight to the center. Vietnam isn't without its challenges. The country still doesn't fab its own chips. It packages and tests chips made elsewhere. Infrastructure bottlenecks and power shortages remain. A skills gap at the highest engineering levels is a real obstacle, but the trajectory is unmistakable, and billions of dollars of investment are actively closing these gaps. In 2023, Vietnam exported over $96 billion in electronics and tech products, making it one of the top 5 electronics exporters globally. 10 years ago, that number was almost zero. This is the fastest industrial transformation of any country this century. Vietnam's government has announced an explicit goal: become a full-spectrum semiconductor nation by 2035. That means moving from packaging to actual chip fabrication. Partnerships with South Korean and US firms are being structured to transfer technology. A generation of Vietnamese engineers trained at top global universities is returning home. The foundation is being laid right now. Taiwan built the chip, South Korea scaled it, and now Vietnam is making sure the world can't function without it. Vietnam is no longer just the escape route, it's the destination. Subscribe to stay ahead of the global tech race.